Congratulations! You've made it to the end of the course and you are ready to pitch your first sponsor. I want you to remember, look for people in your network first, people who know, like, and trust you. As you're putting together your pitch, calculate your overall reach. Don't just consider downloads, but think of all the places where you're creating content online and where you've built an audience. Then put together packages. Don't just send one price for one episode. Put together packages based on the goals as you understand them. Put all of this together into a pitch deck that will wow your contact and your contact's bosses or decision makers. So, the last thing I want to include for you before we wrap up here are a few tips on the ad read when you do land that sponsorship. Have a script, but don't be afraid to speak from the heart. You want to convince your audience to use this product because you love it. And so you're going to want to get talking points from the brand, sure, but you really want to put it in your own voice. Actually use the product if you can. This is going to sound weirdly controversial to some people. I said this a few years ago and I got pushback, like I can't possibly use every brand that sponsors my show. You need to know if what you're promoting is good or not. Your credibility is more important than any single sponsor. And sponsors should agree with you on that because they are relying on your credibility. If you just take any sponsor that will give you money, then you are selling out and you're selling your audience and you're not thinking about them and you're not thinking about the brand. So actually use the product if you can. I'm not saying you have to use it forever. I'm saying you should use it to make sure it's good. Don't be afraid in that same vein. Don't be afraid to turn away advertisers. Don't worry too much about the time. I think, I used to say like, yeah, you can go on for 3 minutes if it's good. I think like 3 minutes is a little long, but if you told them 60 seconds and you go 65, I think that's fine. Make your point, have the call to action, and keep your audience in mind and mix it up. I've experimented with sponsorships a lot over the 10 plus years I've been podcasting. And I have found that if I just run the same exact ad for 3 months, it's not going to do well. My audience wants to hear what I really think about the brand because they trust me. And so now that's one of the reasons I charge a little more. I don't do dynamically inserted ads. I don't accept any ads. And I want to make sure that I'm creating good content about the brand. So brands should appreciate that. And I like to change things up, change up the talking points, the calls to action, where I put the ads and things like that. Okay, so what's next? I have given you a bunch of advice on how to find your first podcast sponsor. You want to make sure to provide value for the sponsor and follow up for renewing sponsorships. There's an adage in business that it's easier to sell to people who've already spent money with you, right? It's easier to sell to current customers than new customers. The same thing goes with sponsorships, right? If you try and deliver and show that you're a partner, then don't be surprised if the sponsor wants to work with you again. But you might have to ask for it, right? You want to follow up. And now, after you do this a couple of times, you work your network, that's when you start to build your sponsorship outreach machine. And so your next step in sponsorships is I mentioned my friend Justin Moore. He has a great book. I don't want this to sound like too much of an ad, but this is one of the most helpful business books I've read in a long time. I think a lot of business books are full of platitudes and dumb stories, but this book takes everything that I've just taught you and shows you how to improve or level up. And I'm telling you about Justin's book because that's where I exclusively do sponsorship coaching. And so if you do feel like you want some extra help or you're ready to take the next steps, check out sponsormagnet.com. If you do want to reach out to me about the next steps and things like that, I'll definitely point you in that direction because that's where I'm doing sponsorship coaching. Thanks so much for watching this course. My name's Joe Casabona. I'm a podcast systems coach. And so my bread and butter, the best way I can help you is through process and system automation. But I've been podcasting for over a decade. I've had sponsors for most of that time, and I wanted to share everything I know with this community. So If you want to learn more about me, you can head over to casabona.org. Or, like I said, if you want to take the next step in your sponsorship journey, you can head over to sponsormagnet.com. Definitely say hello over on LinkedIn. I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks so much.